And then the third aspect is that you want to use reality to define whether you're on the right track. You know, so I mean, so if, and that's where the recovery thing comes in. You know, so how do you define improvement, or what is, you know, what is that? And so, you know, I think that's where you should be able to sit down with your treatment team or your therapist at any given time and say, you know, am I doing better? You know, and this gets very discouraging for people because they feel like they have so far to go, but they've also come so far. And people who are perfectionistic, you know, I met with, I'll just finish up with an example of this, is that I'm working with someone right now, I saw her an outpatient, and I've been working with her for probably 10 years, and she's, you know, been binging and purging every day for like 20 years, you know, and yet came in and said, you know, my eating is still bad, but I really feel like I'm better on some level, you know, and it was like, well, you know, and then we spent the time talking about all the things she's actually accomplished. You know, she's got her PhD, she's in a relationship, she's working, she's out, you know, she's living on her own, she's, you know, all these different types of things, and you know, and then the discussion was, well, okay, well, what's the next step? You know, I mean, and you know, and then it was kind of thinking about what's worked, why has it worked, and kind of going on it that way. So I think that, you know, in any structured treatment setting, that's what has to occur for everybody. You know, and the structure could be the groups, the meetings, the place, the schedule on the wall, but unless you have that, everybody has to have their own individual thing to really have the best chance of doing it well. That's what I would say.
Sure. Well, when I got these questions, of course, I saw everything through my research lens, and my first thought when I received the questions, I thought, this is just a complete nightmare for us in treatment outcome research because, you know, as you can imagine, this is a tough balance in general, but science in general and treatment outcome research in particular demand completely consistent methods so that we can really test an intervention accurately and so that we can replicate it in future studies. And so we find we struggle with this constantly about balancing the needs of science with the needs of the individual in our treatment outcome studies. And many of you have heard of, I'm sure, and received cognitive behavioral therapy, which is often labeled as the gold standard of treatment. But of course, there are many problems with it. And one of the problems that we hear both from people who have received it and the clinicians who deliver it is that it's too rigid. It says, session 2 you do this, at session 8 you do this, which isn't to say that there isn't a lot positive about it. But I think one of the things that we're seeing now in research is trying to come up with creative ways of integrating this. And one of the group at Oxford actually that developed cognitive behavioral therapy has come out with a new version that actually builds in much more flexibility. So at about session 8, it's pretty rigid up to then you get to sit down, work together, and decide, do we need to do a module on perfectionism? Do we need to do a module on interpersonal effectiveness, this kind of thing. So I think we're doing a similar study at the University of Minnesota and part of a multi-center study where what we do at session 10 is say, okay, so we're working on the meal plan, we worked on motivation, what's the main priority now? We've come up with different things, including self-standards and relationships, but I think, you know, for us as researchers, it's fascinating too, is a little bit of a postscript. This has been done in clinical settings for years, but as usual, research always, for many reasons, some forgivable, some not, lag behind what you see in clinical settings. And I think that the fact that it's finally being tested in this way really is, I think, a very positive thing. I think raises this question of how, rather than the either or, how do we creatively integrate structure and things.
A couple hats that I wear on thinking on this is through the Freed Foundation, helping families and clients connect with the right treatment setting and center. So getting to know the person, the individual, as you were saying, I mean, pretty much everything head, set, butt. And what we do is analyze folks through a whole person process. So we look at some of their physical needs, their spiritual needs, their relationship needs for healing, and then also physical, relational, emotional, and spiritual. And so we assess where they are in those levels and what they need, and then we seek out the best treatment center or setting for them based on those things. So looking at a whole person approach, and again, everything that Ted said. But then also from the coalition perspective, the Eating Disorders Coalition perspective, I'm really excited that in the FREED Act, part of our treatment center or treatment section actually says that we are fighting for access to appropriate treatment. And so not only are we looking to follow the American Psychiatric Guidelines, but we're saying that care according to universally accepted criteria, which is probably what you were just saying, and then also the treatment setting must be appropriate to the patient's needs and the clinical presentation. So decisions regarding the treatment setting will include the variables such as age, sex, ability to manage severity or comorbidity, family involvement, and then the staff expertise and training, because some people don't need only an eating disorder specific treatment center, but they need that to be part of the care that they're receiving. And then also, we're saying too, that eating disorders are a complex condition and they require comprehensive treatment approaches. And in that, we go on to use further language to say that all treatment modalities should be covered, including but not limited to family, individual, and group therapies, nutrition counseling, go figure, that would be great, psychopharmacology, body image therapy, and medical treatment. So I'm really excited to share that with you, that all of these ideas are wonderful and great, and it's something that we've really put into the FREED Act, and we're just really excited to be taking it to the hill. So, and the other thing, the top priority in the FREED Act in the treatment section is, it's just really simple, and I know that this is going to sound really strange, but all Americans with eating disorders deserve access to care. So,
Wow.
I want to break that.
I mean, you're asking.
And can I just piggyback up on
Yeah,
what
Kathleen
Kathleen
said.
said? I've been spending a lot of time on Capitol Hill myself in support of the FREED Act, pretty much 3 days a week for the last couple of weeks. And the one thing that I've been talking to the members of Congress about is obesity and eating disorders. And where is the line? What do you understand how obesity is related to eating disorders and vice versa? And of course they don't. And so that's where we've been taking the opportunity to educate them and then talk about the FREED Act and how so much of this prevention that is in the Act will help our obesity crisis as well. Sorry, I was at an obesity conference yesterday, and so the words are in my head. But it's really startling just how much people who are making policies don't understand this, and even the folks at NIMH who are doing lots of good work in the mental health arena, they've said, look, we really only know about 2% of what is out there to know about eating disorders, and so there's a lot to do, and this act will definitely help in that respect. So let's all cheer for the EDC. Thank you.
Okay, well, I read the question basically as a conflict in a group setting. It's probably based on my experiences between the group compliance and individuals that may be struggling more, may need more help or more accommodations, which can be very triggering to patients. So I've seen a couple different ways of accommodating individuals in group treatment settings. The first place I went, Renfrew, Florida, had up to 40 patients at a time, which is a lot. So there was a big focus on compliance, and there were very visible privileges and consequences based on behaviors. And there were a lot of structures built in to accommodate people who were struggling without triggering others, like eating in separate rooms, and doing meal on escorts and all those things. And in my second residential program, which was the Anna Western House, only by the Helen program, there were at most 8 residents at a time, so very different. The focus was much more individual, and there was a woman who entered right after I did it, and she did have some very difficult trauma issues, and so she was struggling with eating anything at all. And they put her in another room with her own staff member doing meals, and when they told us why she wasn't eating with us, the other girls were all very sympathetic, and they were saying, oh, it's okay, she can still eat with us, she can still sit with us, and I was like, no, I don't want to see that.